Hey, video diary. Hanging out with my son. After hanging out with his friend um, and just sort of getting a revitalized jolt of remembering that Forrest was an actual person, not just a memory or a confabulation. Right now, he's not a person anymore. He's a group of ideas and thoughts and feelings that are not fully representative of him, but are highly influenced, flavored by what he did. I say what he did, but what he did was embarked on a course of self-actualization through drugs. You know, what I learned through his friend Pete was a few simple but important telling things. One is that I miss my son, the good non-junkie part of him, in a way that is so painful that I can barely tolerate it. And I've been pushing that, pushing that down and not out, just down. Some of that is that life goes on, and nobody wants to hear about my inner grief. I wouldn't either, you know. Because this is so shameful and disgusting, nobody wants to be reliving it or reminded of it. And this is everyone from, family, forget about, acquaintances. I don't have friends. I don't allow anybody in the inner circle anymore. It's not because they're not great people. It's because I cannot be comforted anyway, and I suppose I could offer comfort and offer support and be a friend in that way. But it's just a truth in me that, like, I just feel like I've been played to a degree that just defeats my appreciation of my species. And it hasn't been just by Forrest, it's been by other people. I helped a few people try to get off the street, and they just fucking played me every time. Just people are just full of shit. I understood it at the time, like, oh, right, this person has mental problems, and, why would they try to, I'm not the person that they have to help, it's themselves. When I started realizing that these assholes did not even want to help themselves, I don't care about their childhoods anymore. It's not an excuse for being full of shit. I had an awful childhood. I was tormented by a sick, deranged religious fanatic, and his power over the situation was such that he couldn't, my mother couldn't get out from under his cloud until he died. And it sucked. And it was, how can I put this? Counterproductive, unnecessary, unloving, unintelligent, irrational, violent, abusive, and I don't think it made him happy. I think ultimately my dad was confused and suffering. And in that sense, I have a part of, I can forgive, or let's say I can understand it for what it is. If I take myself out of the equation and just see it a little bit more objectively, I could see, yeah, when you get caught up in religion to that extent that you actually are using it to justify your actions, I don't know. It's so ridiculous. Religion is so ridiculous that I think that people make a big show of believing it, but somewhere deep down they are just afraid and confused and not answered by those institutional answers, don't really answer in any satisfactory way. So my father's guilt and confusion, and he was very intelligent. He had 4 PhDs. He was a polyglot, spoke many languages. He had a heart that was about helping people, but he couldn't get out of his own way. And I think it was largely because of his guilt, during the whole Nazi era in Belarus when he was very young. And his religiosity, which is just scrambles your brains. It's stupid. I'll let this go by. Yeah, I'm not going to say was played by my father, but I always I tried to rescue him, try to rescue women in my life, and it's never worked out. What was, I am the person who believes in you after nobody else does. Or I have felt like that a few times. Like I refuse to believe that somebody really does not want to live. Like now I accept it. I know that this isn't fully true, but on some level, I feel like my son just fucking played me. He just manipulated, lied, and this is the outcome. He was looking for junk when he was here 9 months before he killed himself. And so I understand he had he had a problem, but he was away from it. He was far away from it. These guys had to go through a lot to get the junk. It wasn't, they had to travel from Queens to Washington Heights every time until they found closer, until they became more professional at their drug use. Congratulations, You idiots have become very adept drug addicts, but you know nothing else. It's only the guy, it's one guy who I know got out of it. Out of that, his group of friends. The rest of them, I don't know. Seems to me like you still love it. Like you still think there's some comfort or answer or relief. My daughter got on at my son's memorial, got on the mic after all of the, boo-hoo-hoo crying and tears and, pseudo-religiosity or whatever bullshit people were saying. And she said, this is fucking bullshit in front of 400 people. Because, profanity is difficult, but it is. This is crap. In the Dantean sense, where Dante had to use the word shit to sort of get the point across, that another word was not going to allow you to feel the level of degraded humanity that we experience. I'm very angry because when I saw Pete, I realized, like, Pete's beautiful, healthy, I used to hang out with him and Forrest and play frisbee out in that field. I'm still seeing the movies in my mind. And there he is, going off to graduate writing program with a scholarship, like Forrest could have, and dare I say, should have. Bullshit. Just fucking bullshit. And he didn't come to me and say, I have this depth of problem, or... I know I sound very judgmental now, but I wasn't when he was alive, I was willing to do whatever. But this is the rules broken on his part, as far as I'm concerned. The contract, the civility, the fucking humanity, the decency. And I guess the misunderstanding that you're an island, that you're just one person getting high in your bedroom isn't going to hurt anybody. But with this stuff, it's so clearly, obviously poison and addictive, the suite of behaviors just emerges immediately, that I think you bear some responsibility for being a user. It's not just like, oh, poor baby, fuck you. I've said that before. But I'm saying this to my son. You're a fucking asshole for doing this. You had all these friends that would have pulled you away from that immediately. People who did those drugs with you and know how reckless and selfish. And if you have some crisis about who you are as a person, you're not going to solve it that way. You're just going to create this crisis. And it's cowardly, because you die, you're fine, or you're non-existent, It's the rest of us that have to suck it up for your mistakes, for your bullshit, for your abuse. For what? To get high. Forrest had, 2 jobs, his MMA gym, his school.